So I want to talk about designing for play, and what I mean by that is designing kind of generative spaces in which people can create their own experiences rather than the type of design where you map out exactly somebody's experience from beginning to end to a traditional design. When I talk about design, what I think of is ordering or structuring things so that you create a space or something that communicates or an object that people can respond to that functions well. When I talk about play, I'm really thinking about that state you enter into. It's not like work, more of a flow state where you're enjoying yourself, where it's like when you were a child and you didn't have a deadline, you didn't worry about the bills and things like that. I'm interested in how do you design experiences that allow for play. I think traditionally designers like to control the end result. A big problem designers had with the web originally was that they couldn't control every single pixel. They couldn't make it like a magazine ad. They had to let it be fluid. Similarly, when you're designing social experiences, you have to allow for variation. You can't dictate exactly the entire experience. You kind of define it in some way, but then you also have to work with all the variations, all the possible things that other people may bring to it when they come into the space that you design, rather than, say, looking at the static thing that you design. So the approach that I think of in terms of making a generative experience is to create a framework. You're not designing the final thing, the single object, the one unitary experience. You're creating sort of a whole system in which people can come and have their own experience. And ideally, within the structures of that framework, people can sort of create their own moments of flow and their states where they're actually swinging through life in a way that's enjoyable to them, and where through the channels that you've created, they can sort of make it up as they go along. So a lot of these ideas that I've been working on come from experiences I've had teaching myself to play ukulele and trying to learn to play music in midlife, basically. At first I thought it would be too difficult or too hard, or the instruments would be challenging. And one of the things that I learned when I bought myself a ukulele and started playing it was that it's designed to work. It's not designed to not make music. It's designed to make music. And so if you listen to it and sort of talk to it, it talks back. And a lot of the things that you do, mistakes, things that you didn't intend to do, sound just fine. Also, within the common structure of a certain set of notes or a tuning or a rhythmic arrangement, people can play together. So as long as you have common rules and boundaries and a couple of basic things that people can hinge on, the whole group can have an experience together. Similarly, in gameplay, you're taking an environment that has rules and structures, but that in which people can make it up every time. Together, they create the experience. And when I'm doing social design or online design for social experiences, similarly, I have to take rules to tell people this kind of behavior is allowed, this kind is not. The system will let you do this, but it won't let you do this other thing. But then within those rules, people can come together and every time play it out differently. So like in the house picture at the beginning, you may design the structure, but you don't design the end result. Another characteristic of games that differs from just general random play is that they have goals. They have an end point you're trying to get to. So sometimes when you want to try to pull people into an experience and let them get into a flow state and play, you also want to give them something to come towards, something to aim for. Another thing to think about in a social environment or a game-like environment is that it can be very much towards the competitive end of the spectrum, where the thing that motivates people is trying to win or rack up the most number of points or get ahead. But you can also make games that are entirely collaborative or cooperative. This is Pandemic by Matt Leacock, who curated the design pattern library before me. In this game, you lose unless everybody works together to stop the global pandemic. So the win state is everybody cooperating. The last aspect of play I want to bring up besides music and gameplay is just acting, performance, role-playing, taking on identities. I think this is a big part of, again, of social design online, where you give people an ability to kind of incarnate themselves and make up a new idea about who they are, or play out a sense of themselves, or have an experience that's partly imaginary, but also partly real, because it connects to other real people in the world. Ideally, you want to create a safe environment where people can have those explorations, can try on different identities, can sort of redefine who they actually are, and how they want to represent themselves to the world, what they would like to see when they look in the mirror, and ultimately take the stories that are sort of fundamental to their lives and tell them again in their own words, and sort of reimagine them or reenact them, or just say, this is my version of my history, or this is my version of my background, and this is what's valuable to me, this is what's important to me. So when you create a kind of environment where people can take on an identity and play within those rules, then you have the